नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I can continue. Go ahead. So welcome back. So we are continuing with the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Today we are going to discuss on verses 13. Yesterday we saw how and in very important verse we discussed about Krishna's supremacy and how there is nothing superior to Krishna. So that is an important verse to be learned, memorized, and is widely used in preaching as well. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam prautam sutre maniganagya. So the Lord, Supreme Lord, who is the absolute truth, there is nothing superior to him. So this has been discussed yesterday. Now let's open up today's verse. Yeah, and also we saw the opulences of the Lord, how the Lord is the sustaining principle of everything, and how is the essence of everything. So that we discussed. Now here is a question that the acharyas have raised. Then if you are all things, why do people do not know you? The Supreme Lord, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur raises a question like this. Having shown his Swarupa, which is worthy object of meditation, distinct from his two energies, inferior and superior, the Lord in 3 verses explains as the cause of ignorance of his Swarupa, attachment to the inferior energy. Now, this is something amazing. Krishna has explained about his supremacy, how all the, he has explained about various vibhutis of him. Now still, people do not recognize Krishna. So in that sense, now Krishna is addressing why they are not able to recognize him, why they are not able to understand his position. So Krishna starts to answer those questions. Now this is again another division that we are dealing with. Who can know and who cannot know Krishna? So the whole section we will see that Krishna is addressing that. Text 13. Tribhir gunamayair bhavai evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam na bijanati mamevyah paramavyayam. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So Krishna here points out that the 3 modes of material nature is completely captivated everyone, has put everyone into the strong illusion, and as a result of that we could see that there are people unable to recognize their own position and also the position of the Supreme Lord. So in yesterday's verse, Krishna, in another verse, where in 7:12, Krishna is explaining that although he showed about all the various vibhutis which we can see in this world, but the Lord is completely not contaminated by any of those actions or activities that we see in this material world. He is beyond those actions and activities. And now here in this verse, he is very clearly explaining, is showing that mohitam, completely all this jivas are bewildered because not knowing Krishna's position. They are bewildered by the 3 modes of material nature. We can see in many places in the scriptures, in the Bhagavatam, in the Gita, and in other Puranas as well, the influence of Maya is so much discussed, how the Maya is so captivating, how it can bewilder or shatter any person, even a person of intelligence or whatever. He can get completely carried away by the illusory potency of the Lord. And many times to show to the world, the Lord does perform some activities. Through his devotees, he sometimes shows the power of Maya. And there is an interesting narration that is given in Brahma Vaivarta Purana about how Narada Muni once becomes a little inquisitive to know about the power of Lord's Maya. Also we can see Markandeya Rishi, that is there in the Bhagavatam as well, how he wanted to know the what is the Lord's energy, what happens during the Pralaya. So he had this experience. Similarly, Narada Muni, about Narada Muni was once very eager to know, because he was interested to know, I am actually on the field. Maybe the volume is too high, it can reduce. I am right there in the field, I am actually preaching, meeting the people and speaking. So what is this Maya, what is the effect of Maya? So he wanted to know. So it's a big description in Brahma Vaivarta Purana, but I just want to make a point that Krishna actually first he will come to this from his abode along with Narada Muni. Both of them they will be disguised as a Brahmana, and in a very sattvic way he will show how his interactions and other things, it will be, the influence of goodness will be seen. But Narada Muni was a little bit more inquisitive to know about the position of Maya. So the Lord will say, okay, here you go. So he will bring him to a pond, and then once he goes and takes bath in the pond, he will completely, in a fraction of a second, he will lose his identity. He will turn himself into a woman, and also he will not see any more Krishna. He will just be, right now that pond will change into a very big ocean, and he will be drowning in the midst of the ocean, where he will be hanging on to a piece of a log. He was surviving, and then he was really crying so much for help. And the Purana explains that there was a king by the time coming by a big ship, or he was by the name Taladgvaja, and then he will save her. I'm just making it very short. He will just save her, Narada Muni, who became a woman. So he will save her and he will give shelter, and then this woman will get married to the king, and then he will be protected by the king, and then there will be so many children. They will have many sons, and later the sons will grow. Then the king wanted to give the responsibility to the sons. He wanted to divide the land, the kingdom to the sons. The sons will develop a lot of misunderstanding, because they will feel that one fellow is given more land, another fellow is given less land. So in that way they start to fight, they start to they will kill each other. And then the mother, the queen, she will be so much worried and depressed, and she will forget about everything. Even before, she will be giving an opportunity. She was a kind of a pious lady. She will go to temple only for some puja, for worship, for some material benefit. Now she will completely reject that God exists. Wow, how can this happen to my sons? This cannot happen to my son, like that. And he will be so depressed, he will be crying, lamenting, he will not say what is day, what is night. Completely she will be upset, and as a typical materialistic person, she was completely in illusion. She was in ignorance. So then a Brahmana, he comes there and then he gives so much advice. He's saying that okay, this is the nature of material world and all this advice, and then she will still be lamenting about her son and all those things. Then Brahmana will say, okay, I will help you. I will give you a solution. I will take you. Come with me. I am going to take you to a lake, and then you take bath in that lake. Completely immerse yourself in the lake. Everything will be fine. And then he will immerse from that lake, and then he will come out. Then he will see his Narada, and he will see Krishna there, and then he will realize, oh, this is the power of Maya. So Maya, it deludes. So the Lord sometimes does this to show to his devotees that don't. Yesterday also we heard, even the suras, the great personalities also can get bewildered. So that is the power of the Lord's potency. And Krishna in the next verse is explaining how this Maya potency, it's divine. It can completely overpower anyone. So we should not take it very lightly. So Krishna here is pointing out that the three modes are very powerful. It's not so easy to overcome that. Okay, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport So how every one of us are conditioned by the modes of nature. So we have divisions in the human society as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. Basically these divisions are based on the conditionings that we see in this material world. So that's how we are being classified. Okay. So then also that is one identification. Then another identification is that we start to identify ourselves with the particular land we are born in. So we are born in a particular place, we are born in a particular situation, we start to identify with that. So Srila Prabhupada points out, however, these designations are not permanent. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I may either be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or whatever in any case. This life is temporary, but although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. So when we are completely in illusion, we don't identify ourselves of our temporary situation, temporary nature. We don't identify that. We just think that which is temporary to be permanent. Asatyere satya korimani. Sri Narottam Das Thakur, he sings. So that which is to be asatya, we take it to be satya, and that which is satya, we take it to be asatya. When we look at things like this, we can immediately understand that we cannot understand because we are in illusion. But that is the thing. If we approach a sadhu, we can immediately point out that we are in illusion. So this is the power of Maya. It can completely overpower us, and we will never be able to identify what is our position and what is our situation. We will be so much preoccupied with I, me and mine. So that's why discovering, ahankara, mamakara, two things are said. The ego completely covers us and we are not able to see things in proper perspective. And when we are in illusion, when we are completely covered by the three modes of material nature, there is no question of thinking about the Lord. There is no question of seeing being absorbed in His name, form or glories. So we can understand with an analogy that let's say if someone is born blind, they say congenitally blind. So to such a person, if you talk about, let's say you talk about the mountains or beautiful sceneries or nice colors, he has no conception about it. Yes, first of all, he has no conception about vision because by birth he is born blind. He does not know. When even some people say that it is like this, it is like that, he can't even perceive because he is completely covered. He has no clue of whatever it is. So when we are in illusion, it is like this. Like if you have lost the sense of sight, completely you have lost the sense of sight. We have one dimension, we have no idea of what is happening on the other side. So how can we know about the Supreme Lord, His position, His name, His form, His glories? We become completely lost. We have lost the touch of it. So this is our position. When we are covered by the illusion, we will not be able to identify ourselves. First of all, we cannot identify ourselves. We think ourselves to be this body. We think this material world to be permanent. That is our vision. The other side is totally blocked. We have a screen is put in front of us. So Kunti Maharani very nicely she points out. She says that Maya Javanika Chandam Agnya Dokshajam Avyayam Na Lakshase Mudadrusho Nato Natya Dharoyata. So how can we see when there is a complete screen in front of us? We can't see the other side. So this is the situation. So this is what Krishna is pointing out here, that all the different kinds of living entities, 84 lakh species, everyone has got a covering. So Krishna speaks about this Maya, Prakshepatmika and Avaranatmika. There is two kinds of illusory potency of the Lord. One, it completely pulls him down, it doesn't allow you to go up. It pulls you, we have lost our relationship with the Lord because having forgotten our relationship with the Lord, we have lost. So we have been put in the material world, and then there is a covering potency. So first we just come down and then the covering potency completely covers us and we can't see. So this is the reason Krishna is giving why there are so many people not able to understand my position. That is because the Lord has been, it's not that the Lord has forced us to be covered by Maya. We wanted to be away from Krishna. As a result of that, facilities are provided to to further forget Krishna and try to falsely think ourselves as enjoyers and try to enjoy this material world. So that is our situation here. So here again another, to make the point very clear, Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport by pointing out that that even if someone is in goodness, in the mode of goodness, even then still he is under covering. So Prabhupada says, those who are in the mode of passion and ignorance and even those who are in the mode of goodness cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in his personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? So this is an important point. So then we will not be able to realize about the supremacy of the Lord, about the Lord's position. So we have to come, that's why yesterday at the beginning of the verse, at the beginning of the first verse in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is giving the whole science of Krishna consciousness, referring to the 4 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in one of the verses you can see that what is happening by Shravanam, by hearing, then we get to know about our constitutional position, the position of the Supreme Lord, and how by hearing this cloud of impurities are cleared away. When there is sun, there is no more darkness. So similarly, when Krishna's holy name is chanted, when we hear about Krishna, then all this darkness goes away. Then what happens? In that one series of verses, we can see in one verse it is explained that one becomes free from kama lobha dayaschaye. The Rajoguna, the Tamoguna, and even the effect of the Sattvaguna, one is become freed. Then after become freed, then one becomes fixed in Sattva. And then from Sattva also one transcends to Shuddha Sattva. Because Sattva is the platform in which at least we can theoretically accept Vishnu's supremacy. We will know that Vishnu is supreme. Then by practice of these principles of devotional service, when we take up this devotional service sincerely, then by the mercy of the Lord, then there is purification that happens. And by that purification, we will raise ourselves from the 3 modes of material nature and we will fix ourselves in the Vasudeva platform or the Shuddha Sattva platform. In that platform, we will be able to see the Supreme Lord. We will be able to appreciate the name, form, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, Ityadi. So that is what is the science behind this whole position. Otherwise, our situation, we are in a very crippled position. That is our situation. Like, for a person who has lost his vision or from the birth, who does not, who has not seen anything, how much, when he is supposing for whatever, like by, so let's say, supposing someone has got cataract or so, then by cataract, somehow he's skewed and he's getting back the vision. Then he will see a completely new world. He will see, oh, there is so much, there is so many things to see, so many amazing things are there. Completely is opening to a new world. Similarly, to the degree we are covered by the modes, we will never be able to understand the other dimension of the spiritual life, spiritual world, the Lord's glorious activities, His relationship with His devotees. We will not be able to perceive. So, but when we just come out of the covering, then we will be able to immediately see the great dimension. That's why, right from the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, we can see Krishna is speaking about his higher taste. So when someone is in the lower taste, he cannot perceive the higher taste. So that is the point. So we are in a disease situation. But if we take up this Krishna consciousness with faith and knowing, okay, this is my disease condition, but I just with patience and determination, if we just go on, then completely a new, even in the beginning of the practice of Krishna consciousness, we can experience the higher taste of this Krishna consciousness. So when we become purified more, then we will see, then we become firmly fixed, we become determined in this process. So that is the result of Krishna consciousness, practice of Krishna consciousness. So that has to be understood. So we need the mercy of the Lord to come out of this covering. That's why we can see even the Lord Brahma, he is addressing that it is not possible to appreciate the Lord or by your knowledge, by your power to know about the Lord. You need at the end of the day, you need the mercy of the Lord. It is not possible. Now, how to get the mercy of the Lord? That we will see in the upcoming verses how it happens. So here Srila Prabhupada, again I am just pointing out this, Srila Prabhupada is concluding this purport. Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. So that is the whole point. By being fixed in Krishna consciousness, we come out of the three modes of nature. So that is why Srila Prabhupada always used to say, there are only two things, either Krishna or Maya. There is nothing in between. Okay? So that is why we are being given this whole process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Navavida Bhakti. So the more we engage in the service of the Lord, the more we are away from Maya. So here is a nice verse where Srila Prabhupada is referring to in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, wherein he points out how by the Lord's mercy one can overcome the effects of Maya. This is from the Yamunacharya's teachings from the Stotra Ratna. So the verse goes like this: Ullangita Trivida Sima Samatishayi Sambhavanam Tava Paripradhima Svabhavam Maya Bhalena Bhavatapi Niguhyamanam Pashyanti Kechid Anisham Tvadananya Bhavaha. O my Lord, everything within material nature is limited by time, space and thought. Your characteristics, however, being unequaled and unsurpassed, are always transcendental to such limitations. So in this verse, Yamunacharya is pointing out that, my dear Lord, you are not within these three modes. You are not captivated by the three modes. Although you are interacting, you descend here, you perform various activities, you are beyond the three modes. So he is establishing that. Parivradhima means he is the supremacy of the Lord. The nature of the Lord is being established, that he is beyond these three modes. Then he says, you sometimes cover such characteristics by your own energy, but nevertheless your unalloyed devotees are always able to see you under all circumstances. Pashyanti kejid anisham tvadananya bhavaha. So the Lord's glories are always seen, his name, form, attributes are seen and appreciated by his devotees. For others he covers himself. The same thing the Lord is going to speak in this chapter, that how for those who are not his devotees, the Lord covers himself. So now this is the point, this is the whole central important theme, an important point to be understood, that the effect of the three modes, how the three modes are affecting us. So this we learn from Bhagavad Gita. And what is it that even if we hear about it, it's not that we come out of it, we hear about it. So then this should make us to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. That the Lord is discussing in the next verse. So what is the solution for this problem? Krishna is discussing in the next verse. Okay, here is one interesting quote. Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the different bhavas. Krishna or absolute truth means the original source of all emanations. Janmad yasyataha. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. What is Brahman? Brahman means the original source of all emanations, where from everything is coming. So all these varieties, they are coming from Brahman. So Brahman cannot be impersonal. If Brahman is impersonal, how the varieties are coming from him? That is not possible. This is again another amazing point Srila Prabhupada is directing to, that if everything is, if you say ultimately it is Brahman, so we see so many varieties there, but there are no varieties there, so how do you understand? So he is the source of everything. There is Sattvika Bhava, there is Rajasika Bhava, and there is Tamasika Bhava in Krishna. Therefore, when we see Krishna's pastimes, Leela, just like Krishna killing a demon, that is Rajasika Bhava. There are many instances. So we should not misunderstand that, Krishna is in Rajoguna or is in Tamasika Guna. No, he is performing certain activities, he is performing various kinds of activities. Sometimes he is very soft, he is very gentle, sometimes it appears like he is very rough. So he is showing varieties. There are many instances. If you read Krishna's life from Krishna book, you will find exactly it is similar to human activities. Therefore Krishna says, Matta eveti tan vidhi, but I am not affected by those qualities. This is Krishna's special prerogative. When we are under the spell of Sattva Guna, Rajoguna or Tamoguna, we become affected. But Krishna, when you find that Rajoguna is exhibited in his pastimes, but he is not under the influence of that Rajoguna. Even sometimes Krishna is found under the influence of Tamoguna, but he is not there. That is explained here. Tribir gunamayer bhavair edi sarvam idam jagat mohitam nabijanati mamebhyaf paramavyayam. The whole world is captivated by these three qualities of material nature. The difference is that Krishna comes also within this material world, and the ordinary living entities, they also come within this material world. As Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Arjuna, both you and me had many, many births, but you have forgotten, I have not forgotten. This forgetfulness is under the influence of Tamoguna. So although Krishna takes birth, many times he appears Janma Karma Chame Divyam, but such appearance and disappearance are Divyam, transcendental. Okay. Text 14. Now here is the link. Now Krishna is answering. Then how will they be delivered from this bewilderment of the three modes? And Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu is asking, he is pointing out. But it will be very difficult to destroy the bewilderment caused by the three gunas, since Maya from which the gunas arise is eternal. So Maya is also eternal, and you say everyone is captivated. Then what is the solution? What to do? How do we overcome? So now Krishna answers, Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Okay, now in this verse Krishna is pointing out the nature of Maya, how Maya energy, that is also divine, that is my energy, he says. And he gives a solution how one can overcome this Maya. It's not so easy, but it is possible if someone has the courage to take shelter of Krishna. One should come forward, take shelter of Krishna and surrender to Krishna. So this is the most important point Krishna is giving here. Now, you see, Arjuna is a very powerful Kshatriya also, and he had the courage. Initially, he was bewildered by Maya, but he recognized, like we see when we see the strength that he had, he understood. First, he thought that this strength should not be, I should engage in fighting, because by fighting then I will kill my relatives will be in trouble. But later, after having heard from Krishna the transcendental knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he took the right decision to surrender to Krishna, and he was bold enough that let me just simply use all my energy, my body, mind and words, the paurusham, the strength that I have, let me use it in Krishna's service. He recognized that and he surrendered to Krishna, and by this he could transcend the three modes of material nature. So it requires courage to take shelter of Krishna. Courage means one should, we are deluded by the three modes, but Krishna here is giving a solution that by taking shelter of me, you will be able to overcome. So for that, one should take a step ahead and come forward and surrender to Krishna. Then it may be painful, it may appear to be painful, because we are in illusion that when we are in disease condition also, when there is some kind of a boil or something, when the doctor he cuts the boil, it is painful at the beginning, but immediately there is relief from the pain. So attachments, when the attachments are being cut, what are these attachments? Attachments are simply illusion. We are just identifying ourselves with this body, the extensions of this body, this land, and everything, name, fame, glory, so many things that expansions come out of it, we are attached to it. But here Krishna is indicating that, hey, you are in Maya. Come on, take shelter of me, surrender to me. If you surrender to me, you will be able to cross over. You will not be anymore suffering in this material world. So this is once Krishna is giving us assurance, he is giving us a simple solution of surrendering to his lotus feet. But it appears that it is so difficult because the more we are complicated, the whole process appears very difficult. So here Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of the purport, is pointing out that this energy, Maya, is actually my divine energy, and how is it possible to overcome this? So Srila Prabhupada is writing, although the living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. Now we saw about the and the Jiva. There are two Prakritis yesterday we studied. One is Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. So the Jiva, by nature, he is not being overpowered by the matter. But because of forgetfulness of Krishna, misidentifying ourselves, we are overpowered by the matter and the combinations of the matter, various permutations and combinations of the matter. We get bewildered by the different creations of this material world. Now, but if we come to our constitutional position, Yayedam Daryate Jagat, we are superior, but unfortunately, we are trying to exploit the resources of the material nature. So that is our problem. And Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, this is because of the covering potency of Maya. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that, so we are eternally conditioned. So when did when we got influenced by the Maya, it is Anadhi Karma. We do not know, we cannot trace when we fell into this material world or how we got caught up into this material world. That's why we are addressed as Nitya Baddha. Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here that the conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of its becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Now, that is one point that we cannot trace out, but here a solution is offered how we can come out from the three modes. So also, we also should not think that we should not underestimate the power of Maya. So here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. So the Lord, what He does, when we are not ready to hear from the Lord, then we will hear from Maya. That's all. Maya gives different kinds of kicks and we will be completely under the control of Maya. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. Vedas confirms this as follows: Mayam tu Prakritim Vidyan, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. Although Maya is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the supreme controller. So also, we may understand that everything in this material world, there is illusion. By the power of illusion, we start identifying ourselves with this body, with our friends and relatives, with our children, with our particular job, with our particular profession, whatever. And when we get this knowledge that it is all illusion, then we are now caught up in this material world and we have to act in the situation. So we cannot misuse this philosophy also. We cannot say that everything is illusion. There was one fellow, there are always very peculiar cases that you may say that it's all illusion. You might have taken some 20 lakhs loan from someone, and then you can say that it is all illusion. It's all illusion. What is this? What is this material world? Well, that is true. It's all illusion, but now you have taken a responsibility and you cannot just misuse the philosophy. Yes, it is illusion, and then in illusion, the police will come. They will just put chains on your hand, and then they will take you to the foothills of Yerkad, and then you may have to sit there, and then you should meditate on the illusion. Sit and it's all illusion. You can think like that. So we cannot misuse the philosophy. Also, we are in the situation. We are caught up, but how to come out of this illusory state, that we should work on. So that is first of all, identify that we are in a conditioned state, we are in illusion. How many people in this world, they know that we are in illusion. So when we are in illusion, we don't know that. So that is why Srila Prabhupada is now giving another nice example of how another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. That is the thing. When we are completely tied, we cannot untie ourselves. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be held by a person who is unbound. Only a person who is free from the being tied by the rope can untie a person who is now tied. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. So that is why we need the help of an acharya, a guru, or a pure devotee who can help us to come out of this conditioning. He comes and then he just points out, and then he, with his powerful words from the scriptures, he points out our illusory situation. He says that we are eternal spirit souls. We are eternal servant of Krishna. We are not servant of Maya. This is what the spiritual master, he comes and then points out, and then he helps us and he forcefully, sometimes, he just brings us out of Maya. This is his mercy. So Srila Prabhupada points out that in the purport. Therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. Devotional service of Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. So now this is the point. Now Krishna has the power. He can very mercifully release us from Maya. If he just glances, finished. Maya is going to release us from Maya. Krishna is going to release us from Maya just by his glancing. So we need to get the mercy of the Lord. And that mercy happens when we surrender to the Lord through his pure devotee. He orders this release out of his costless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. So this is the solution Krishna is giving. Just surrender to me. So if we do not, then we will be completely bewildered and we will be suffering. Otherwise what happens is, due to illusory energy, we try always for some kind of a solution in this material world, how to be happy here, how to overcome the difficult situations. By so many ways we try to approach. We try to acquire more money, we try to acquire some position. Even some people, they so-called pious people also, they go to the astrologer. They think that let me work out with the astrologer, do something and try to make the situation better. And they go to the astrologer, and then the astrologer, many times we can see the astrologer, they tell about the past, and then they say that, you have been, we can see many times, they will never say what we have gone through 84 experiences of life, but immediately to impress the person who has come to the astrologer, he will say, in your previous life you are such a great person, you are a great king, you are such a rich person, and this and that. But then the conditioned soul, he always wants to be glorified. Then he thinks, okay, is there any better situation? What can I do? How I can work out? What is an easy method that I can follow? Everyone is looking for some alternative by which he can change his current situation. But here Krishna is offering the most simplest and easiest and the perfect solution of surrendering to his lotus feet. And this, how many times Srila Prabhupada has quoted this verse? And people, that is why we need to preach this message of Krishna consciousness. People are not aware of it. Because people are not aware of this message, people are trying to take solution and take shelter to various things apart from the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. And Krishna is here giving a simple solution. By taking shelter of him, we can overcome this powerful Maya, which is otherwise very difficult. And also, in this verse, the Acharyas are pointing out, Srila Prabhupada is also pointing out that we should take shelter of Krishna alone, not someone else. And Srila Prabhupada points out this. Mam eva is a significant point Srila Prabhupada is here pointing out. The words Mam eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna and Tamoguna to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. So this is again another verse which shows the another pramana, we can say, about the supremacy of the Lord. No one else can give release from Maya. So we can see, even when Ravana went to Lord Ram asking him for help, Ravana went to Lord Shiva asking for help. Shiva said that, sorry, I cannot help you in this regard. Lord Ram is the supreme personality of God. Better you go and surrender to him. There is a great chance Ravana could still, Lord Ram would have forgiven Ravana. So this is the merciful nature of the Lord. But if someone wants to take shelter of a personality other than the Supreme Lord, then it becomes extremely difficult. One cannot make any kind of progress. One will be conditioned because they don't have the power to liberate someone from the conditioning of this material world. So Srila Prabhupada further points out, Tameva viditva, or freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. When Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only with the mercy of Vishnu, Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradhata sarvesham Vishnur eva na sankshayah. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. This is a very important verse which again shows the Krishna's supremacy. Shiva himself, Lord Shiva himself is addressing and recognizing that I cannot give mukti, only Krishna can give mukti. Now we can many times see, some people are very curious to go to Kashi because they want to die in Kashi because they say that Lord Shiva will help us liberate. But actually if you see what Lord Shiva does there, Lord Shiva chants the name of Rama, chants the name of Krishna, chants the name of Govinda. Actually that's what he does, he chants the name, and then in that way it's not that Shiva can liberate someone. He is a very powerful Vaishnava, but what he does, he chants the name of Lord Ram. So that's what we see here. Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnu eva na samshaya. Nobody can deliver the conditioned soul apart from the Supreme Lord. Okay, here is a comment on the Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. He says, when Lord is speaking this verse, he is speaking with great compassion to his devotees, to people who are conditioned, that he wants the conditioned soul to take shelter of him. He says, this Maya, the external energy, belongs to me, the Supreme Lord. It is difficult to surpass. As a noose, it is impossible for anyone to untie or to cut it. Touching his chest, he says, touching his chest, the Lord says, having faith in my words, anyone who surrenders unto me, the form of Shyama Sundara, crosses over this Maya. It's interesting, no? So the Lord says that, no, come, I am here, take shelter of me, I will protect you. But we are, looking somewhere else. We don't want to see the Supreme Lord. That is Maya. Okay, here is another quote by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu. He points out, Varam Vrinishva Bhadram te rite kaivalya madhyana eka eveshwarastasya Bhagavan Vishnu Avyayah. All good fortune to you. Now please choose a benediction from us. Anything but liberation. So that when this is the other demigods and everyone, they are speaking to Muchukunda that we will give you whatever you want, but please, except for liberation, that we cannot do. So here is another. So here the acharyas are pointing out that Vishnu is that supreme person who can award liberation. No one else can award liberation. Okay, now acharyas are pointing out, if those who surrender to you attain liberation, why others, even learned persons, do not surrender to you? So this is an interesting discussion. Now it comes up. Why the wise do not surrender to you? So now Krishna is now clearly classifying and clarifying this point, why the intelligent do not surrender. So now this verse speaks about the four impious people who do not surrender to Krishna. So these verses, Daiviya, Shagunamayi, Namam Dushkritino Mura, these are very important verses to understand. In fact, this particular verse, what we are going to discuss now, I think is one of the longest purport in the Bhagavad Gita. I think the other one is Raja Vidya Raja Gopiyam, it's got a longer purport. This one also has a very long purport. Srila Prabhupada elaborates so much on this particular verse. So we will discuss that. Namam Dushkritino Mura Prapadyante Naradamaha Maya Pahrita Asuram Bhavamashitaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So here the four kinds of people are addressed. Who are those four? Mura, Naradhama, Maya, Aparta Jnana, and Asuras. So the four classification Prabhupada is translating is a Dushkritinaha, miscreants, foolish people. Then generally they are Dushkritinas, and then the material is Naradhama, lowest among mankind. Then Maya, Aparta Jnana are those whose intelligence is completely carried away by the illusory potency of the Lord. Then outright demons, the atheists. These are the four kinds of people Krishna is speaking about. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is raising a main question. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all the leaders of ordinary men do not surrender. In one sense, if you see, okay, someone says if someone is intelligent, so that means that you should be intelligent enough to recognize that there is the Supreme Lord, there is an intelligence behind this creation, there is an intelligent person behind the creation. So how is it that they don't realize? So that is what Srila Prabhupada is asking a nice question. Mukti or liberation from the laws of material nature is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with great plans and perseverance for a great many years and births. So for some people, what is this liberation? Liberation is how to come out of suffering, how to make this world a better place to live. That is their level of understanding of their liberation. So that is why they always think of, they are working very hard to make this world a better place. So that is one kind of people who are trying to find solution like that. Now Prabhupada is analyzing and is giving answers to these kind of people. Though they are using, they're thinking that these big scientists, these educated people, they think by their intelligence they can analyze everything, they can conclude about the nature of this material world, they can conclude about how the workings of this material world. So they are very confident, they are very much boasting about it, and that is what we see in this entire material world, that they are so puffed up, and as a result of that, they, of their own thinking themselves to be very capable and very intelligent, they don't surrender to the Lord. But on the other hand, when we see in the scriptures, we see great personalities, what is their realization? So as we were discussing before, that when Brahma was bewildered, seeing Krishna's position, he offered prayers to the Supreme Lord, and in his prayers, he is offering his realizations. He says in one of the prayers, he says, Jananta eva janantu. Some people may say that, I know about Krishna, I know about the Lord, his perfect position. And then he says, King Bahutya Name Prabhu. But King Bahutya Name Prabhu. They may say that, okay, I know about the Lord, I know about his position. But as far as I am concerned, he says, Manaso Vapuso Vacho. Either by my body, by my mind, by my words, Vaibhavam Tava Gochara. I cannot understand about you. I will never say that I know you. So there are many personalities who may say that they may know you, but as far as I am concerned, it's not easy to understand about the Supreme Lord. It is not easy to, with our own intelligence, with our own mind power, with our word jugglery, whatever, we cannot capture the Supreme Lord. The Lord is beyond the perceptions. Avan Manasa Gochara. This is also said. It is not easy to capture the Lord. That is being recognized by great personalities like Brahma. And Brahma himself, in those series of verses also, he says that even there are many great yogis, jnanis, they are performing tapasya for millions and millions of years. They cannot, and even they are studying scriptures, Vedanta, they are analyzing, but if they think by their speculation, they can get to know about the Lord, his supremacy, his power, his beauty, his glory. It's not possible. So he says that prasada lesanu, he says that one needs a mercy of the Lord. That is required. So atapi te deva padambujadvaya prasada lesanu grihita evahi janati tattvam nihitam guhayam. So janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno. Yeah, that's one. He says bhagavan mahimno. It's not possible by your speculation. It is not very difficult. Nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. One may be a big jnani speculating for so many years. One may quote the scriptures from various ways, but unless the Lord showers His mercy, it is not possible to know about the Lord. So one may be very intelligent, maybe a very big scientist, one might have analyzed so many things, you might have discovered, done so many different kinds of inventions. You will not be able to approach the Supreme Lord with your mundane intelligence. So this is the premise to be understood. It is not possible to know with our strength. So that is why we can see Srila Bhakti-śāstra Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, again and again, many times they point out this process of how the Lord reveals Himself to His devotees. Atasri Krishna Namadi, Nabhaved Grahyam Indriyai, Sevon Mukhe Jigvado, Swayam Evas Pratyadaya. So then how to get that mercy? This is the way you get that mercy, by taking shelter of the Lord's holy name, by taking shelter of the Lord's service, by honoring His prasadam, because this is the process of devotion service given by the Supreme Lord coming in parampara through the bona fide acharyas. So when we take up this process, then we will be able to approach the Lord. How we approach the Lord? The Lord reveals Himself to us. Unless the Lord reveals himself, unless he showers the mercy, it is not possible. So that has to be understood. That is, we can see immediately in the purport Prabhupada is pointing out. The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumaras, Manu, Vyasa, Devala, and other great personalities up to Sri Chaitanya and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all-powerful authority, because this is the only way possible. Others, they do not understand this principle. So they completely try with their own human methodologies to know the cause of this world, to know the workings of this world, to know the controller. They can never figure out because the whole process is wrong. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. They have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material energy is so powerful, it can resist the authorized plans, unauthorized plans of the atheists and baffle the knowledge of planning commissions. So that is the thing. If one is ignoring God and if he is trying in various ways, he will never be able to accomplish his ideas, which you may be doing it for some time, but it cannot go on for a longer time, because unless you cooperate with the Lord's plan, those persons who do not cooperate with the Lord's plan, they are going to suffer. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is hinting here. So he gives a definition of who are the dushkritis. They are called as the miscreants who don't cooperate with the plan of the Lord. Okay, now here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out about the atheists who are completely working against the material nature. They don't accept the plan of the Lord. Here Srila Prabhupada uses an example. Under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled. As in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators and educators. So we know Ravana, who is a Vedic Pandit. he studied so much of Vedas, but outright using the Vedas he denied the Supreme Lord. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful, was so wealthy, he had all the gold with him, all the power, everything. Just by the movement of his eyebrows he was controlling all the demigods. That was his power. But here you see Prabhupada is using a very choicest of words here. He's saying that, but all the plans are smashed to dust, he says, because so this is an indication that if we are so puffed up and don't realize and recognize the supremacy of the Lord and his plan and his power and his benevolence and his propensity of the supreme enjoyer, then all our plans will be smashed to dust. So all these great scientists, the great so-called philosophers, they are all actually simply wasting their time. That is why you can see this verse, Prabhupada many times he quoted this particular verse, Namam Dushkritiro Muda, and Prabhupada also used to say that, then people sometimes point out why your founder Acharya or your spiritual master is so heavy with words. Why he is always addressing mudas, rascals, nonsense people, madmen. Why is such powerful words? Prabhupada sometimes simply used to say that Krishna is saying, what do I do? Krishna is just, this is what Krishna is speaking and we are just repeating what Krishna is speaking. So this has to be understood. It's not that also we can see why Krishna is speaking like this, why Krishna is using such powerful words, because this is also the mercy of the Lord. It is not that the mercy is there or the sweetness is there only when we hear about Krishna's playing the flute. Krishna is dancing with the gopis. Only that the sweetness is not only there. Here also there is sweetness, because this is the compassion of the Lord for the conditioned souls. So Krishna, Naradama, all powerful words are used. Naradama, Muda, Maya, Aparta Jnana, Asuras. Actually, this is Lord's compassion for the conditioned souls. Actually, we are not this. We are eternal servant of Krishna. That is our constitutional position. But because we are conditioned, we are now identifying ourselves with all these positions. We want to be like Jarasandha. We want to be like Hiranyakashipu. We want to be like Ravana. We are taking this artificial position. Krishna doesn't want us to be like this. So he is chastising. He is using these heavy words. That's why we can see Prabhupada is also so heavy so much in many lectures we could see he so much he blasts. There is one lecture in which Srila Prabhupada, I think I didn't have time to search for that quote, wherein Prabhupada, you can see there are at least 5 or 6 times continuously is using these mudas, one line after another, one line after another. And he says that, finally he just speaks very strongly and then says, thank you very much. He just finishes the lecture like this. Actually, it is really its compassion. When somebody is sleeping, you have to wake up the sleeping soul. You shake him up and then wake him up. Hey, you are in great trouble. Wake up. At that time, you don't, just imagine. Srila Bhakti-śāstra Saraswati Thakur used to give this example that somebody is playing with a kite. He is in the terrace, and then the terrace is open. There is no walls. Okay, he is so absorbed. Those who play with kite, played with kite, they know that you are playing. You don't know whether it is day or night, or you are not aware of your surroundings. So much you are absorbed in playing kite, and then if you don't pay attention, then you may fall down from the terrace and then you will die. So someone comes next to you, and then what he does, he's not going to call you. Somebody who is sensible, who is little intelligent, he's going to shout, "Hey, you fool! Wake up! Don't sleep!" Like that he may shout. He may just shake you up. Then you may come to senses. Otherwise, what will happen? You will be, otherwise if he comes and then says, "Hey, my dear, money," you may fall down. He's not going to hear whatever that you're going to say. So the person, with great vigor, with great anger, he speaks very strongly. But what is his anger? It's actually an expression of love. But foolish people cannot understand. They will say that they will just start complaining, you're too heavy, or speaking like this, it's not proper. You have to understand everyone, you have to just leave everyone in their situation. But this is the mercy of the devotee. You remember when we were discussing the 3rd chapter of the Gita, Krishna says that, when somebody is when he is not ready to surrender, leave him in that situation. Let him at least gradually come from that particular situation wherever he is, which is also in one sense correct. But the devotee is more merciful. He knows the inner intention of the Lord, and what he does, he takes step ahead, and then he goes and then shakes the person, and then he makes him to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is the urge of a devotee. So in that urge, you can see Prabhupada is speaking so strongly. He's blasting the scientists, he's blasting the so-called philosophers. In fact, we can see this entire purport is written in that mood. That is how much he is just pointing out on these false philosophers, the so-called writers, many people, educators, everyone is actually cheating. They are all covering up Krishna, and they don't want to accept the supremacy of the Lord. And that we could see here. Srila Prabhupada is pointing out with the first classification. He is calling the mudas. The mudas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts. So basically, the materialists who are only interested in eating, mating, sleeping, defending is being pointed out here. They are just interested only in how to accumulate wealth and how to just happily stay in this material world. And as a result of that, they think that is the most important thing to be done, and they take lots and lots of burden. They go to school, they study, they acquire degrees, they go to job, they don't have time for anything, and out of 24 hours, so much time they just spend on just working. So Prabhupada is pointing out that's why he is comparing. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. What is this work? Why you are so much struggling hard day and night? We are going to die one day. But so much hard work is being done by these foolish materialists. They don't understand. And Prabhupada points out that how simply the ass is working so hard. The grass is right there in front of it. It doesn't know. It thinks that I have to carry this burden. I have to do heavy work. Then only I will get my grass. So that's why Prabhupada is comparing to the grass, comparing these fools to the ass. And then he also says that just for little sex appetite, this ass is trying to go and approach the she-ass, and then the she-ass is giving him a kick. And then again, he's in this way, he's struggling. So Prabhupada also makes a mockery here. He says, the ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this braying sound only disturbs others. Yeah, you might have heard the braying sound of the asses, no? It's really a disturbance. Like that, it just makes sound. And then all this big poetry, you can see the poetry of, there is one so-called big Tamil poet here. He's such a nonsense fellow. Recently there was a big controversy. The controversy is actually, if there is a really theistic government, is a good king, he should have been banned from writing anything, speaking anything. This so-called poet who has his name is being glorified compared to diamond and pearls, but it is really like it's like useless stones, like dirty stones. That's what it is. That's what his name is actually. He actually criticized the position of Andal. She is such a what is her position? Who is he to comment on such a great personality? And he has no clue. They are all atheists, and then they are commenting on the position of, that's what it is. These kind of people, they just comment, they have no clue of what is right, what is wrong, what is the position of the Supreme Lord, what are his energies. They have no idea, no clue. They will start to comment, they will write poetry, they will criticize, and this is a sad situation. So this is exactly as Prabhupada is saying, it's the braying sound of the ass. That's what it is. Their poetries are like this. This is what is going on. So this is the position of the foolish fruity worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma, action is meant for yajna. So they have no idea. So they have no clue. They get lost themselves. And then they get lost in this kind of work, and then they get completely, they say that this work is the worship, this is what we have to do. My father did that, my grandfather did it, I will also do, and my son also has to do. And in that, our entire parampara, we will remain in this material world. We'll forget Krishna, we'll forget the topmost important activity that we need to do, and we will eternally stay in this material world and rot. Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam. This is what is going on. So Srila Prabhupada further, he goes on to say, most often those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties say that they have no time to hear of the immortality of the living being. This is the famous statement, no? Sir, no time. You go and then knock at someone's door and then, sir, please take a book. Sorry, no time. I'm very busy. Where you are going? So many people are going so fast in their car, in their bike. Stop them and then ask what they're doing. No, I have to go and report to this. I have to collect this. I have to collect that. Time is going on. Life is just going on. What is you are going to be your destination? They don't think about it. That's why exactly they are called as mudas. And we were like that before, right? By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we were saved. Okay. Yeah, and also further Prabhupada is pointing out how by hard work people even they lose their health. They get ulcers, indigestion, so many problems, diabetes. Yesterday I was discussing with one devotee how by working so hard and they did not eat on time, they don't sleep on time, as a result of it, so many diseases. So still they will take all kinds of these troublesome activities, but they will never surrender to Krishna. So he says, unfortunately, they never surrender to the Supreme Master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from the proper sources. So another analogy Prabhupada is also pointing out how the swine who eat the night soil do not care to accept the sweet meats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear of the sense-enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. So it's unfortunate, no? So sometimes we go and then call people, please come to the temple, function is going on, this Kartik month. They're so busy. Yes, I'll come. I've been trying to call one person for the last 10 years. He's so busy, he's not getting time. He's one doctor, he's so busy. And recently, actually during Corona time, I was out of touch with him for more than 1.5 years. And recently, some 2 weeks back, he called me. And then, same old, I'm requesting him, he's saying the same old story. Yes. When time will come, I will come. The right time will come, I will come. He's saying, so busy, don't have time. But you can see, he has a lot of time. In fact, nobody comes to his clinic. That is the situation. But he has no time to come here to the temple. Unfortunately, but we just keep trying. So one day or other, something will click, and we should not give the hope. And somehow we should distribute the books, give the mercy, give prasadam. At least he accepts prasadam whenever we go. So that is nice. We hope for that. So see, this is whatever Srila Prabhupada is speaking, it's not something he's just writing a story or something he's cooking. It's the exact situation of the material world he's pointing out. Naradama, or the lowest of mankind, the second category. Another class of dushkriti or miscreant is called the Naradama, or the lowest of mankind. So Prabhupada here points out those people who are these Naradamas. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that those are the people those who are socially and politically developed but who have no religious principles must be considered Naradamas. So they are well established in the society, doing some so-called good jobs, but they are completely rejecting the idea of surrendering to God. So here he is giving further classifications of the civilized men. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth, the personality of God is Sri Krishna, who is all powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified as Naradama. So here Prabhupada very specifically defines them. Having got the human form of life, having got an opportunity, a good birth, but still if you reject to surrender to Krishna, such people are considered as Naradamas. We can see also when Srila Bhishma Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, they are also giving different insights. Some more insights are there who are called as Naradamas. Here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out exactly that Labdhva Sudurlabham, having got this human form after so many millions of lifetimes, but you have not understood the urgency of this human form and you are just misusing it for everything else other than making pursuits in self-realization. So that is the foolishness actually. So because of the influence of Maya, being covered by Maya, Prabhupada gives the analogy of the baby in the womb, how it is covered, it cannot see. And that's what the entire world is, Prabhupada is pointing out. It is a duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies as enjoined in the Manusmriti, which is to guide religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashrama. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% of the population is Naradama. So this is the situation of this material world. So, and what is the result of such a population? When the whole population becomes Naradama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. So now this is what happens. All by so-called advancement, so-called big studies, finally what is the conclusion that you have come to? By your great research and studies, you have come to a conclusion that there is no God. Everything can be handled by ourselves. So this is the unfortunate situation. And so Srila Prabhupada is further giving what is the hope for such kind of people? The hope is that these Naradamas can be saved by great personalities like Nityananda Prabhu, or those great personalities who is coming following the footsteps of Nityananda Prabhu. They are mercifully traversing the entire planet to save these conditioned souls. So we have a great job to give the books of Srila Prabhupada, give this transcendental knowledge to save people from conditioning. Show to the people that this is not our real life. The real life is with Krishna. So we need to show that. So here Prabhupada is pointing out the lowest among human beings can be delivered by this submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even refuse to give an oral reception to these messages. And what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord? Naradamas are the lowest of mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of the human being. So that is the position, that they neglect it, they deny it, but nevertheless the devotee goes on trying. So then the next category are the Maya Aparita Jnanas. Maya Aparita Jnanas, Srila Prabhupada points out, he puts into category philosophers, poets, literati. Literati means there are many writers who write books, who are writing essays, journalists, so many different kinds of people, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. So they have intelligence, but their so-called intelligence is completely carried away by the illusory potency of the Lord. So we may say someone is intelligent, but here we can see, well, let's say some simple example. Someone is, say someone has purchased a new car or whatever. He may be an experienced driver. He's driving for quite some time, and he's in the car. He's moving around. Let's say just right in 5 seconds, he's going to hit on a big rock which is on the path. And if one is really intelligent, he should just stop thinking about anything, stop any other activity, any other discussion. He should immediately apply the brakes, right? But instead of that, if he is thinking of, let me adjust the seat a little bit, let me adjust this, let me just give this to someone, life is going to be finished. So one may say that someone is very intelligent, super brain, he's a genius, everything you may say, but all your genius, everything is just used, if it is used for something else other than knowing the most important aspect of your life, of your constitutional position, and surrendering to Krishna and serving Him, and then going out of this filthy place, then you are not really intelligent. So that is why we can see Srila Prabhupada points out these scientists and other so-called big industrialists, big leaders. Why he calls them rascal? Because the demoniac attitude. You don't surrender. One is so much intelligent. He just does so much discovery. He takes so much pain, works on the laboratory, does so many things, but finally rejects the Supreme Lord. So that is why Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that these people, they are intelligent, but their intelligence is, so-called intelligence, is completely carried away by the illusory potency of the Lord. And also, there is another category, Prabhupada is also pointing out that Maya Aparta Jnanis. So the Maya Aparta Jnanis, what they do, they reject the idea of the supremacy of the Lord is a person. They just stick to the impersonal aspect of the Lord. That is also there. So here Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, they do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. All the unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the class of Maya Aparta Jnana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. The deluded interpreters do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. That is why we always insist to hear in Parampara, to read anything which is coming in Parampara. So one may, you may see the name, and after the name you may see so many degrees, MA, MS, PhD, BTech, Tick, so many things you can see, but simple qualification, as Krishna says, is he a devotee of the Lord? Unless one is a devotee of the Lord, he cannot understand the science of Krishna consciousness. He might comment on so many things, but because he himself has not learnt it in Parampara and he has not understood it, he will never be able to communicate the real message. So it will be a deviant message and one will get carried away. Okay, here is the last category. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out about the atheists, the outright atheists. They are the asuras. So they totally they deny the Lord's name, form, activities, and what do? They say there is no eyes for the Lord, there is no ears, there is no nose. They totally deny. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out this is because of the envy. Envy is of the Supreme Personality of God, and the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. This is an interesting statement by Prabhupada. No? There are so many so-called, we can see here, right from Tamil Nadu to in North India, we can see so many so-called bogus gurus manufactured who come up with so many crazy ideas, and in that crazy ideas, the main thing, the thing we can see that is there, they claim themselves to be God, which is the most foolish thing. And as Prabhupada says that here, he says that illicit incarnations, he says, illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. So that's what is going on. They firmly believe that they are God, you know. And some of them, they write so-called, so many different kinds of books. One of the fellow, he is just doing some kind of meditation. He is saying that, okay, I will move the clouds. He is meditating. Now, by my meditation, I will move the clouds. Now, that is what some people are writing in the book. In the book, they say that you can, you just think of, you just always think that you can be happy, and by just always thinking that you can be happy, you can overcome all the sufferings. How is it possible? This is the power of positive thinking. But reality is that after 1 hour you are hungry, then you have to pay the rent, you have to do the day-to-day activities. So that's exactly what Prabhupada says. So many things they manufacture, and then they come up with some ideas, and those books will be popular selling books. When you just put like that, some fancy jargons you put, and then you put in the market, and these books will sell, so many copies of these books will be sold. And if you actually see the contents, there will be no substantial matter in that. So that is an unfortunate situation, and we can see there are so many people who speak many things. They decry the personality of Godhead. Such persons whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead and cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So Prabhupada concludes his purport again by giving a quote from Yamunacharya. Oh my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles, despite your uncommon qualities, features and activities, despite your personalities being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for the depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly qualities. So it is very clearly pointed out here by Yamunacharya that so when somebody is totally influenced by the modes, one cannot appreciate or glorify the Supreme Lord. Now, a few things I would like to point out from the commentary of the Acharyas, how there are different other views are given here. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he points out that there are some people who think that actually he is pointing out regarding the Naradamas. He says that by bhakti you can only you cannot approach Rama or Krishna because they are humanly. So these are also Naradamas. He said they are very offensive. They are saying here is a quote. Here is that others, having studied the scriptures, have their knowledge stolen by Maya. They think that Narayana residing in Vaikuntha is obtainable by constant bhakti, but not Krishna or Rama, whom they consider humans. It is said, Avajananti Mamuda Manushim Tanumashritam. These fools think that I have a human body. This means that they surrender to me. They actually do not surrender to me. So this is again this is a criticism by some of them. They deny Krishna and Rama being simple humans, and we will see Krishna is again speaking about this. Then Srila Baladevi Vidyabhushan Prabhu is also pointing out, okay, here is another interesting thing. He is saying, under the influence of Maya, others called the lowest of men, though attaining the status of being the highest of humans by being born in a high family such as that of a Brahmana, become the lowest of men by exclusive absorption in a materialistic poetic works. So that's another point. Prabhupada says that having got the human form, they are misusing. Specifically, he says that one may be born in a very aristocratic family or following the family of a Brahmana, but what he is doing now, completely all activities that which are not fitting the role of a Brahmana. They deny the God, they become atheistic. Also, there is a quote, I think it is from Varaha Purana. It is said that the Asuras, they are born as Brahmanas in Kali Yuga, and they deny the existence of God and they preach atheistic principles. So that is also there. So these are the Naradamas that is being pointed out. Okay, so there is Jarasandha, an example is also being given, and here it is being pointed out what is it that the atheists, what they do. Under the influence of Maya, others take shelter of the demoniac mentality and propound the theory of an entity which is consciousness itself, without qualities, form, activities or thoughts. So here is another kind of asuras, the Mayavadis, who actually deny the personality of Godhead. Just as the demons pierce with their arrows my body, which gives everyone else bliss, these persons break my body using logic with statements such as God has no qualities. Even though my body is famous in the scriptures as being eternal and conscious, the manifestations of such intelligence are caused by Maya. So now this is another point, no? So there are outright atheists, and then the Mayavadis. There are others who deny the form of God, and they are also actually asuras, because they completely, although the Lord has a beautiful form, they deny, they preach, and they confuse the people with the atheistic, this illusory philosophy. And you can understand, Srila Prabhupada's quote, and you can understand by one symptom, just like pressing one rice from the whole pot of the rice, you can understand the rice is quite alright. Similarly, by one symptom you can understand who is a rascal. By one symptom, what is that? Namam prapadyante, he is not a devotee of Krishna, he is a rascal. That's all. Immediately you take it without any consideration, that anyone who is not a devotee of Krishna, who is not prepared to surrender to Krishna, is a rascal. That's all. This is our conclusion. So we can say, one day we can say so many great qualities of some person. He is such and such, born in this place, he graduated from this university, he has been working here, so many things. We can just prepare what do they call, curriculum vitae, biodata, showing all the glories. But if one is not a devotee of Krishna, it is just hara bhaktasya kuto mahad guna manoratena sati davato bahi. That's all. That is all it is all about. Just simply hovering on the mental platform. Okay, there are some more quotes, but it's no time. I'm just going to go to the next verse. Text 16. So now Krishna in this verse discussed about the 4 kinds of people who will not surrender. Now he is going to say, so who are those 4 people who come to Krishna? Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritinarjuna arto jignasura jnani cha bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So Krishna here in this verse is discussing about 4 kinds of people who come to the Lord and they take shelter of the Lord. So they are the Artha, those who are in distress, and Artharthi, who wants some money, and Jignasu, one actually who is inquisitive to know about the Lord, and the Jnani, who is really searching for the topmost knowledge. Now we can see in this 4 kinds of devotees, 3 kinds of personalities are categorized as not pure devotees. Why they are not pure devotees? Because they have some aspiration other than taking complete shelter of Krishna. So we know from the definition of pure devotion that anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttamam. So to take complete shelter of Krishna without any fruitive mentality or just to gain knowledge for the sake of philosophical speculation, that is not pure devotion. So pure devotion is that which is simply meant to please the Supreme Lord. So we can see in this category the other 3, Artharthi, Artha and Jignasu, they are not in that level. So that Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport. Now Srila Prabhupada, while discussing about these 4 categories, he is saying that what about the other 3 categories? Here we can see Jignasu, Artha and Artharthi, and then Jnani. Now we can see here how one can come to that pure platform. So Artha is there, Artharthi is there. If you see in this verse also, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasu artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So now I think Srila Bhagavad Prabhu also points out in the purport that why Jignasu is placed in between, because the Artha and Artharthi they come for some material benefit. Someone is very much in great distress, is suffering so much, so he comes and why it is suffering for me, why I am suffering, why this great difficulty, please help me to come out of the situation. Sometimes we can see people, when you go to temple, we can see, go to Srirangam or Tirupati, we can see, of course Tirupati, immediately we can figure out people go there expecting that I will invest something and the Lord will give me double return. They expect and go for that. And also people, somebody has got a heart surgery, someone is suffering from severe disease. Because of piety they approach the Lord. They do not know the position of Lord, what is his position, what is the relationship with him. Many people they do not know. Some piety is there, they go approach, they go to the Lord just for expecting something in return. So, and a person who is suffering also he goes like that, and a person who is expecting money, they go and approach the Lord. Now, Artho, Artharthi, so, but as Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport, by coming in touch with a pure devotee, gradually the pure devotee, by association with the pure devotee, the tendency to inquire comes into the conditioned soul, who has little piety, he comes and then he becomes a Jignasu as well. He becomes inquisitive. So that's why you see Jignasu is in between Artho, Artharthi. Both has to become inquisitive. So by the process of devotional service, one becomes more inquisitive and he develops the faith to the Lord. So association of pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, and he says that this is the hope for the miscreants. So all the other people, by coming in touch with the pure devotee, they will be able to overcome the conditioning. So that is the main thing Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God. And they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend of the impersonal Brahman. And the localized Paramatma and transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma and come to the personal conception of the Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his devotee. So here, the 4 kinds of people who come to the Lord is being discussed, and all the 3 kinds who are having some expectation They are coming and taking shelter of the Lord, which is the most nice aspect of it. But they all have some expectations. They are all looking what is in store for me. These kind of people, they become purified. They elevate themselves to the stage of jnani by association of the pure devotee, and then they make progress. So here Prabhupada concludes, he makes one clear point, how they all become pure devotees. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. This is an important philosophical point to be understood. When one comes to this stage of akinchana, Krishna is, one can develop pure love for Krishna only when we completely become free from material desires. So that is the pure status. So one can be elevated to that stage by association with the pure devotees. That is the conclusion of this verse. And here the acharyas are giving examples for all the 4 kinds of devotees. So we have, let me just go through this commentary. So Srila Balaji Vidyabhushan Prabhu, he gives example of who are these 4 kinds. Gajendra is an example of Artha, the one who was actually in great distress, right? He was struggling. And Jignasu, so is one who was very inquisitive. So Shaunaka was very inquisitive. So you can see Shaunaka Rishi, example is there in the Bhagavatam. So he is an example for Jignasu. And then Artharti is a Dhruva Maharaj. So if you get time, whenever, you just please go through the lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave on this verse. There is a very, some very interesting facts Prabhupada speaks about Dhruva Maharaj. Whole episode in one of the lecture he speaks about how Dhruva became a devotee of the Lord. And then he gives many additional information, which are, some informations are not there in the, about Dhruva's search in search of the Supreme Lord. He gives some interesting information. You can look into that lecture. I don't have time to discuss that. So it's a very interesting point. Prabhupada points out how Dhruva became, under the guidance of Narada Muni, he became a pure devotee. Then we have the example of Shukadeva Goswami, who is an example of a jnani, is being discussed here. Okay, so these 4 people, they approach the Supreme Lord. Now, the next verse, Krishna speaks about, he clarifies who is the jnani. Now, so generally, when we practice Krishna consciousness, we bhakta, jnani, karmi, we discuss, right? So jnani, what is this jnani is speaking about? So what is a jnani? That is being clarified in this verse. Of the 4 who is dear to Krishna, that is being clarified here. Tesham jnani nityayukta eka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnani notyartam aham sachamama priyah. So Krishna says, of this, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. So Krishna, he says that of all these 4 kinds of people, who is very dear to him, the jnani is very dear to him. Why? Because he is completely absorbed in devotional service. So this jnani, what is Krishna is referring here, is the devotee of the Lord. He is not a dry philosophic mental speculator. He is not that kind of a jnani. The jnani referred to here is the devotee of the Lord who simply is working for the pleasure of the Lord. So Krishna says that I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. Krishna, you can see these statements Krishna again and again repeating in the Gita about the reciprocation he has for his devotee. Then we see in the last chapter, Yomam pashyati sarvatra mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati, Krishna says. So such a devotee who sees me everywhere, he is not lost to me and I am not lost to him. So here he says, he is very dear to me and I am very dear to him. So here Krishna says, but Prabhupada in the purport he points out, but out of them he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. And of the 4 orders, the devotee who is in full knowledge is at the same time engaged in devotional service is the Lord says the best. Now this has to be understood. So when he says he is in full knowledge, what he does, what is the phalam of that knowledge? One is by knowledge he acts in devotional service. This is the whole important point. So otherwise you just read books after books, hear so much, and what are you doing at the end of the day? That has to be seen, and that is very clearly we can see in the life of a devotee. He does something for Krishna. He takes great steps to distribute this message of Krishna. Now we will see how he becomes very dear to Krishna. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada further points out the same thing. By the association of such pure devotees, others also become pure. That is being emphasized here. So we'll go to the next verse. Okay, just to clarify, another clarification from Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. You can see here he is clarifying also what kind of jnani he is. But does the jnani just worship you out of fear that this jnana will be ineffective without bhakti? No, he has a predominance of bhakti, eka bhaktihi, not like other jnanis who have a predominance of jnana, or the meaning can be. He has great attachment to the process of bhakti alone and is a jnani in name only. I, in the form of Shyama Sundara, am exceedingly dear to such a jnani. He cannot give up either the stage of sadhana or perfection. I also hold him very dear. This is according to the reasoning that I respond to the devotee in proportion to his amount of surrender to me. So what is being said here? It's a simple thing. So one may be practicing devotion with a tinge of karma or jnana, but this jnani, what Krishna is speaking here, is not such a kind of a devotee. Completely pure devotee of the Lord. There is no tinge of jnana or karma in his practice of devotional service. Such a devotee is very, very dear to Krishna. So that is what is being pointed out. So eka bhaktihi, he is fully focused, fully mind focused on Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, now here in the next verse, the text 18, we can see here Krishna is pointing out that so one may think, oh, then what about the other three categories? So they are not what kind of people they are, because first Krishna has defined that there are four kinds of devotees who surrender to me. Now he says that a jnani is very dear to me. What about then the others? What are they? What is their level? Now he is going to speak about that. Udara sarva evaite jnani twatmaiva me matam astitas sahi yuktatma mamevanu gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. Udaraha, word is being used. But one who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me the highest and most perfect goal. So now this is the point. So udara, this word is being used here. Udara means generally you can say broad-minded, very magnanimous. So broad-mindedness in this material world has got a different connotation, different understanding. Broad-minded means who can accept everything, accept all ideas. So that is a general understanding of broad-minded. But broad-mindedness here, or magnanimous here, Krishna is speaking in regard to accepting Krishna's supremacy. Why others are also considered magnanimous? Because whatever may be the situation, they are having, he wants money, someone is in distress, someone is a little inquisitive for knowledge. All of them, they take shelter of whom? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. They come to Vishnu, Krishna. So here Krishna is pointing out that they come to me, so I acknowledge them as magnanimous. But then within that there are gradations, so many gradations of devotees that we see. So there is whole category of jivas who are completely not coming under the shelter of the Supreme Lord. That category that we saw in the four categories: Dushkritina, Muda, Naradama, Maya, Pratajnana, Asuras. But then here, another category is there who accept Krishna, they are theistic, and then there are different gradations in the theistic levels. So that is what is being, and Krishna accepts them, he calls them as magnanimous. Now again in this verse, we can see one important point, that why this, among all these people, this jnani is so much glorified. If we think about it, there is one specific quality which is making this pure devotee very dear to Krishna. Can you think of something? Can you think of one particular quality which is making him very, very dear to the Lord? Which we had already discussed before in the previous chapters as well. Which is really captivating Krishna. Now we can say there is also another word, again Krishna is pointing out. Think about it, what I said. I will just also see in the purport. Prabhupada is again glorifying about this great devotee. See here he says, Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam tvaham madanyat tena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. The devotees are always in my heart and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch and therefore they are very, very much dear to me. So there is a clue that is given here that they are always in spiritual touch and so they are very much dear to Krishna. So yeah, so Krishna is so much glorifying that pure devotee. But then again, that pure devotee is very dear to the Lord. So what is it that is so much attracting Krishna? Why the pure devotee is so much attracted to Krishna? What is it that special quality in them attracts the Lord? Yeah, pure devotee always thinks of Krishna. That is attracting to him. Yes, they are absorbed in Krishna. There is one specific quality which really captivates him. Well, we did discuss in the previous verse also. Okay, you just think of it like this. Why the Bhakti yogi is so dear to the Krishna rather than other yogis? This is the point. He thinks for the benefit of others. That is what he thinks, how I can bring others to Krishna. And being Prabhupada, we should never forget this point. This is what is very much required. We are being in the Hare Krishna movement, following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. Always we think of how to help others, how to bring the conditioned souls to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. That is what is so captivating Krishna. So Krishna declares that right in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So one becomes very dear to me because he spreads my glories. And then also we saw in the previous chapter, Krishna says that quality, Atmautamyena Sarvatra, that quality of being benevolent to others. So one thing, as you said, that's a correct point, he is always thinking of Krishna, he is always absorbed in Krishna, but his absorption is manifested in the form of the compassion that he has for the fallen conditioned souls. So we can see Srila Prabhupada took so much strain, so much hard work he did. Throughout the day, he worked so hard, preaching, meeting people, and taking very short rest, and then working on his purpose. This is complete outpour of his mercy. So this is so captivating to Krishna, and such a pure soul is very much, Krishna is very dear to him. So all others are also, Krishna likes them because they come forward, but the pure devotee works so hard to help conditioned souls to come to this level of surrender. Now, having explained, because you see Krishna is very systematically explaining 4 kinds of people surrender to him, and among these 4 kinds of people, this Jnani is considered to be the topmost, and here he is saying that others are also very magnanimous, but the Jnani is more dear to me. And now to qualify the greatness of such a person, in the next verse Krishna is clarifying that such a person is very, 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 very rare. So he says that Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mang Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So one becomes, such a soul is very rare. Come to a conclusion that Vasudeva is ultimately everything. That's why now he shows the rarity of such pure souls. So after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is very much focusing on different levels of people who come and take shelter of Krishna, and right from impersonalists to personalists, and from within the personalists how one comes to the ultimate conclusion of that Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ultimately, Krishna's mercy is required. So he says, Prabhupada points out in the purport, at such a time one can understand the Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that he is the cause of all causes, and this material manifestation is not independent from him. So at such a time means at which time one comes to the process of realization. So Manishyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye, having got the human form of life, one has come to the level of theism, and from the level of theism one has come to the level of accepting the personal form of the Lord, and then within the personal form of the Lord one accepts Vishnu's supremacy, and then going further to understand that ultimately everything that we see that is manifested, everything is the mercy of Lord Vasudeva. So Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sujurlabha. So that is very rare situation. So here Krishna glorifies about this great person. Thus he thinks everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. And Prabhupada quotes from the Upanishads to substantiate that even the many in different Upanishads also we see the emphasis given on accepting the Lord's supremacy. So he quotes from the Shvetashvatra and Chandogya Upanishad, which also clearly emphasizes the supremacy of the Lord. So here in the conclusion of the purport, Srila Prabhupada points out, similarly Lord Vasudeva, the personality of God and Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. And because Vasudeva is all pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. And so this is a very rare phenomenon. So very, very difficult to come to that situation, and that situation, come to that situation of accepting Vasudeva, Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka, Vasudeva Paramjnanam, Vasudeva Parantapaha. Bhagavatam also glorifies how Vasudeva is ultimately everything. So to come to this conclusion, it is just not possible by tapasya, it is not possible by your own endeavors, it is possible by the mercy of the devotee of the Lord. That we will see at the end of this chapter. Krishna is pointing out how one can come to that pure state, how having purified from all sinful reactions, one can come to that level of purity. So Krishna here in this particular verse, he just sums up this whole section that we have discussed so far, that how different kinds of devotees are there, and among the different kinds of devotees, how the jnani or the pure devotee is in a very higher level, and to attain that stage is very rare. So we should not take this pure devotional service as some simple process. It is simple, yet it is to come to attain that stage of purity is not so easy, it is rare as well. So that gives us the weight of this pure devotional service. So one has to take it very seriously and submit and surrender oneself to Krishna. So that is the main point of this verse. And tomorrow we will discuss on others who, after having heard about all these great personalities, why some of them are not taking shelter of Krishna. So that we will discuss tomorrow. And if you have any questions or comments, you can just ask now. Any comments or questions or realizations? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. No, there is a link there. You can see. Okay, the question is, in the third verse we heard Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashchir Yatati Siddhai Yatataamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Vedi Tattvataha. Is there, Krishna again here now is saying that Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Is there any relation between that verse and this verse? Yes, you see there in the third verse, Krishna first in the beginning he said about Maya Saktamana of Partha, that knowing my supreme situation is the topmost, my beautiful form as a person, hear from me. So having said that, but to come to that stage, no, not everybody is coming to that stage. Attaining this perfection is very rare, he says. Now again he is emphasizing in this verse, having explained about the various devotees, and among the devotees how the jnani is great, and that jnani is the pure devotee, and that to attain that stage is very rare. Again he is emphasizing, yes, there is a link, we could say. Yes, definitely, tattvataha, in truth. So that truth is about the Supreme Lord and the pure devotion service. Yes. So that's the main point of that. I want to clarify one point yesterday that I explained. Vilagdamada Prabhu asked me a question about the stand of the absolute truth and God. So God is a controller and absolute truth. Why the Bhagavatam is speaking like this? So that's what yesterday I explained that point. So samam bonam, Prabhupada speaks it as samam bonam, absolute truth is samam bonam, because absolute truth, it includes everything. So generally people have the conception of God as the simple controller or as an order supplier. That's how they look at God as. But the Bhagavatam gives a very broad definition of God. That's why Prabhupada writes that it is targeting on the absolute truth. So which encompasses everything. The Supreme Lord, He is a controller, He is a maintainer, He is a creator, He is a supreme enjoyer. And so absolute truth means it includes the material creation, it includes the Lord's name, form, glories, and everything is included. And we say absolute truth, everything is included in that. And after defining absolute truth, Bhagavatam explains how Bhagavan is that absolute truth, and that Bhagavan is Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So that sums up the definition. So that's why when Krishna says that I am that supreme absolute truth, in Mattav Parataram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya, Krishna is clarifying that I am that supreme absolute truth and nothing is above me. So with that we will conclude. We will continue with the discussions tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Hare Krishna.